What if I told you that the difference between Olympic gold medalists and complete failures often comes down to something as small as 1%? That a British cycling team went from laughable losers to Olympic champions most people would ignore, and that you could completely transform your life not through massive changes, but through adjustments so small they seem almost ridiculous. This is the counterintuitive world of atomic habits, where the smallest changes create the most dramatic results. Their performance was so poor that bike manufacturers wouldn't even sell them equipment, fearing it would hurt their brand. Today, we're re-diving deep into James Clear's revolutionary book that sold over 15 million copies worldwide and changed how millions of people think about personal transformation. The surprising truth about habits. James Clear opens with a story that seems impossible. In 2003, the British cycling team was so bad they hadn't won a single gold medal in 110 years. But if you get 1% worse each day, you'll decline to nearly zero. This is the power of compound interest applied to habits. You're essentially on autopilot for nearly half your life. The toothbrush you reach for, which shoe you put on first, the route you take to work. These aren't conscious choices anymore. This is about a fundamental truth that most people miss. Success is not about making dramatic changes. It is about making tiny changes consistently over time. Most people focus on outcomes. I want to lose 20 pounds. Or I want to write a book. But Clear argues this is backwards. But then Dave Brailsford took over as performance director with a philosophy he called the aggregation of marginal gains. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you should be asking, what type of person runs marathons? The answer, someone who doesn't miss workouts. So you do unstart by training for a marathon. You start by becoming the type of person who does unmiss workouts. But here's the kicker. Those same athletes then dominated the Tour de France, winning 178 out of 180 possible stages over the next decade. Instead of looking for one massive improvement, he obsessed over tiny 1% improvements in everything. They redesigned bike seats for better comfort, rubbed alcohol on tires for better grip, tested different massage gels for faster muscle recovery, and even painted the inside of the truck white to better spot dust that might affect bike performance. The result, within 5 years, they dominated the Olympics. Write one page, and you're a writer. Study Spanish for 10 minutes, and you're someone who speaks Spanish. The goal isn't to read a book, it's to become a reader. Clear introduces what he calls the 1% rule. If you can improve by just 1% each day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. The shocking reality of habit formation. Here S, something that will blow your mind. 40% of your daily actions are unactually decisions. They re-habits. But here's where it gets really interesting. Clear reveals that we've been thinking about habits completely wrong. He introduces the 3 layers of behavior change. Layer 1, outcomes. Layer 2, processes. Layer 3, identity. Most people work from the outside in, but lasting change happens from the inside out. This is identity-based habit formation, and it's revolutionary because every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The science of habit loops. Clear breaks down the neurological habit loop into 4 simple steps that govern every habit you have. Cue, craving response, reward. Here's a fascinating example. Your phone buzzes. You feel curious about the notification. You check your phone, and you satisfy your curiosity. This loop gets stronger every time you complete it. But here's the genius part. Clear shows you can hack this loop. Want to build good habits? Make them obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Want to break bad habits? Do the opposite. Invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying. Let me give you a mind-blowing example. Clear wanted to practice guitar daily. Instead of relying on motivation, he made it obvious by placing his guitar in the middle of his living room, where he could unmiss it. That simple environmental change turned an inconsistent hobby into a daily practice. This proves that willpower isn't the issue. Environment is. Clear reveals that we don't choose our habits, our environment chooses them for us. The military was terrified about what would happen when they returned home. But something shocking happened to 95% of soldiers who were addicted overseas, never became re-addicted at home. The difference: environment. The power of environment design. This brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in the book: environment design. She simply rearranged the cafeteria to make water more visible and sodas less visible. Water sales increased by 25.8%, while soda sales dropped by 11.4%, without changing a single person's willpower. Here's a crazy statistic. During the Vietnam War, 20% of American soldiers were addicted to heroin. Start with read 1 page. Want to run a marathon? Start with put on running shoes. Want to eat healthy? Start with eat 1 apple. Put your vitamins next to your coffee maker. Keep books on your coffee table instead of remote controls. Clear explains that every habit has a decisive moment, a fork in the road where you either do the right thing or the wrong thing. The 2-minute rule ensures you always choose the right fork. In Vietnam, everything triggered the habit: the stress, the people, the locations. At home, those triggers didn't exist. Clear shares practical environment design strategies for good habits. Place your workout clothes next to your bed. Once you've put on your running shoes, you might as well go for a walk. Once you've opened a book, you might as well read another page. For bad habits, some days he'd floss just one tooth, other days he'd floss them all. The key was never missing the 2-minute version. Remove social media apps from your phone's home screen. Keep junk food out of the house entirely. Put your TV remote in another room. And Thorndike, a physician at Massachusetts General Hospital, proved this works on a massive scale. The 2-minute rule. Here's where Clear introduces what might be the most practical habit-building strategy ever created. The 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Want to read 30 books a year? This sounds ridiculously small, but it's based on brilliant psychology. But here's the secret sauce. Not trying to build the habit of reading one page. You rebuilding the habit of being a reader. Clear shares his own experience. He started flossing by committing to floss just one tooth. It sounds absurd, but it worked. The compound effect of small changes. This is where the book gets really exciting. Clear introduces the concept of the plateau of latent potential. The reason most people give up on their habits. Imagine heating an ice cube. At 25 degrees Fahrenheit, nothing happens. At 30 degrees Fahrenheit, still nothing. At 31 degrees Fahrenheit, still solid ice. But at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the ice begins to melt. That 1 degree makes all the difference. But it was that 1 degree that did the work. It was all the degrees that came before. Habits work the same way. You can work out for months without seeing dramatic changes. Then, suddenly, everyone notices you've transformed. You can write daily for a year with no readers. Then suddenly, you have a bestseller. The breakthrough moment is often the result of many previous actions building up potential. Clear calls this the valley of disappointment. The period where you're putting in work but not seeing results. Most people quit here, but this is exactly where the magic happens. He shares a powerful example. If you save $100 every month from age 25 to 65, you'll have $48,000. But thanks to compound interest, that money will actually be worth over $332,000. The same principle applies to habits. Small actions compound into remarkable results. The dark side of habits. But Clear doesn't just focus on the positive. He reveals the dark side of habits that most self-help books ignore. The downside of habits, they can become mindless and prevent you from noticing small errors. they can lock you into previous patterns of thinking. They can make you overconfident and prevent growth. Clear introduces the concept of mastery, the process of narrowing your focus to a tiny element of success, repeating it until you achieve excellence, then using that success to expand to the next element. He shares the story of Howie Liu, who wanted to learn to code. Instead of trying to build complex applications, he committed to writing one line of code every day. Some days he wrote just one line, other days he wrote hundreds. The existing habit becomes the cue for a new habit. But he never missed a day. Within months, he had learned multiple programming languages and built several applications. Not too hard, not too easy, but just right. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. The key insight: don't focus on being great. Focus on being consistent. Advanced habit strategies. Every time he made a sales call, he moved one paperclip to another jar. His goal was to move all 120 clips every day. This visual cue kept him focused and motivated. Instead of, "I want to lose weight," say, "I am someone who takes care of their body." The difference is subtle but profound. Within 18 months, he had built a massive client base and earned over $5 million in commissions. Clear introduces several advanced strategies that separate the masters from the beginners. Want to be a writer? Write one paragraph. Want to be athletic? Do 10 push-ups. Habit stacking. Pair a new habit with an existing habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 60 seconds. Most people try to change their habits without changing their identity, but lasting change comes from changing who you are. Temptation bundling. Pair something you need to do with something you want to do. I will only watch Netflix while doing laundry. This makes boring tasks more attractive. No single instance will transform your identity, but as the votes accumulate, so does the evidence of your new identity. They did unrely on motivation. They relied on systems that made good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. The Goldilocks rule: humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Because habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. They made improvement a habit. It shows us that we don't need massive changes to transform our lives. We just need tiny changes, consistently applied, compounding over time. Never miss twice. When you break a habit, get back on track immediately. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. The question is, are you changing into the person you want to become? Clear shares the story of Trent Dyersmed, a stockbroker who started each day with 120 paperclips in a jar. The identity revolution, the most powerful part of Clear's system, is what he calls identity change. Instead of saying, "I want to quit smoking," say, "I am not a smoker." Don't try to be 100% better. Try to be 1% better. Because 1% better every day isn't just improvement, it's transformation. Clear explains that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. He shares practical strategies for identity change. Decide the type of person you want to be. What would a healthy person do? What would a successful entrepreneur do? Prove it to yourself with small wins. Repeat. Each time you perform the habit, you reinforce the identity. The surprising secret of elite performers clear ends with a revelation that changes everything. The difference between good and great is untalent. It as habits. He studied elite performers across different fields and found they all shared one trait. They had systems for continuous improvement. The British cycling team didn't just win because they found marginal gains. They won because they created a system for finding marginal gains. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. So if you want to predict where you'll be in 5 years, don't look at your goals. Look at your habits. Final thoughts. James Clear's Atomic Habits isn't just another self-help book. It's an operating system for human behavior. The next time you want to build a new habit, remember, start small, be consistent, and focus on identity. The question isn't whether you'll change. You're changing every day through your habits. The question is, are you changing into the person you want to become?